Hello. Welcome to Bad at Board Games.
Well, he truly is bad at board games.
My name's Brad Blake.
And I'm Toph Ferguson.
We're bad at board games, so you don't have to be.
Like Brad.
Yes, because this is the second time we're doing this video because I forgot to hit the record button on the audio. And you don't want to hear audio out of that camera. It's garbage.
I mean, not to say this is much better, but, you know.
It is a million times better. You have no idea how much money I've spent on this audio. Bite your tongue.
I don't want to know. Well, on that note, today we're going to be talking about Windmill Valley, which is the new game from Board and Dice. You may have seen it already. If you are a tulip lover, maybe this game is for you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Theme?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So the game itself, so we already mentioned, so Windmill Valley, Danny Garcia is the designer.
Yep.
And yeah, the theme, well, I'm going to let you talk about the theme.
It's the Tulip War of 1902. Flamethrowers and machine guns everywhere. No. Anyway.
Please fact check that and let us know in the comments.
You're planting tulips. It's lovely. That's it. That's your thing.
Yeah, it does nothing for me.
Moving on. Mechanics.
Yes, so the mechanics itself, there's a handful of them as I destroy the board. First and foremost, probably the biggest thing that you will notice if you see anything about the game is the action selection windmill that you have. So it's a rondel that you're playing. I guess we could call this a rondel, where you are going to be spinning your wheel, not quite that fast, but you're going to be spinning it and being able to choose. Yeah, be able to choose some actions to be able to take that's on your board. So this is going to be one of the biggest things of the game itself that you will notice. With this, there's also going to be upgrades that you're going to be able to add into it. So you're going to be able to kind of play points and sometimes take one or two actions depending on the upgrades that you might have in your wheel. So that's going to be the biggest thing with it. There's also a big part of the game that's going to be the market and your resource management. And that resource management is primarily going to be tulips, but also very much money and sometimes victory points as well that you're going to be able to have to manage. So a little bit of an economic engine going with the game itself, but I wouldn't say that that's the focus of the game itself. Along with that, you're going to have network and route building. So a big portion of the board is actually farmland, and so in the middle of it's going to be the city center, and there's going to be some paths that extend out into it to different fields where you'll be able to hypothetically plant your tulips. But the big thing with the route building is that's where you're going to be building your windmills. And so doing that unlocks things on your board. So a little bit of board upgrade as you go, end game scoring with that. But you're going to be building out and gaining benefits with your windmills. Don't think of it as route building necessarily that you have to only do your own route and that's it.
Yeah, it's not like Brass or any of the train games.
Yeah, it's not
to connect somebody's windmills to yours.
Exactly. Yeah, I would not classify this as a network building game, but that is a mechanic that is in it. Unlike Brass, that is definitely network building. Contracts and endgame scoring benefits are going to be a big part of it as well, and that also goes into the upgrades. So as Brad's showing the card, there's a farm helper that's at the top. You can hire farmers or workers to be able to work in your fields, and they slide in the top and they give you instant benefits as you go throughout the game to kind of boost the actions that you're going to be taking, or you can slide them as contracts up under your board at the bottom, and typically it's going to be scored at the end of the game, sometimes mid-game, but they're going to give you sometimes massive amounts of points if you can fulfill your contract. And so that leads into what I would say is probably one of the last big mechanics that you'll notice in the game, and that is that there are mid-game bonuses that as you go throughout the game. Some of them are very minor, and some of them might be very major in terms of what they give you. Sometimes it's an extra action, sometimes it's some more resources, and sometimes it's scoring end-game bonuses in the middle of the game to give you a lot of good benefits. So kind of a lot of things going on, but don't get overwhelmed by that yet. Even though there's a good bit going on, kind of break it out into a semi-easy format.
So player count, this is 1 to 4 players. We haven't played it solo, but Toph liked the game enough that he's like, I think I would enjoy this solo. So take that with a grain of salt, but you know, it has a nice feel to it. Best player count, kind of feel like this can be played at any player count. We haven't played it at 4, but it plays, let's say, fast enough that you don't feel like if you're playing it at 4, it's this big long slog. So I think this is going to be good between 1 and 4 without a problem. time to play, they actually put the time to play correctly on the box, 45 to 90 minutes. So we haven't played it at 4, but I can't imagine it going past 90 minutes because you only have 4 rotations of this before the end of game triggers. So
4 rotations.
Yeah. So it can end fast if somebody was just kind of like, I'm going to take the maximum every time. So, yeah, 45, 90 minutes. Can't believe it. The box actually is not lying.
Which is fantastic. So you want to go into...
Well, yeah, I usually talk about the teach too. So the teach, 30 minutes or less?
Oh, easily.
And Rodney, they paid Rodney to do how to play on it. He did a nice job. There's a few things you're going to have to look up that you may like. How many times does this trigger when I'm trying to do my extra actions? It's just once for your whole turn, no matter how many upgrades you might get. Things like that. There's going to be a few nuances that you're going to look at. But yeah, wasn't a bad teach either.
No, and from the learner perspective, absolutely not bad at all. Like it just made sense as Brad went through the teach, which was very nice.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of skip, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm going to normally go over the turn overview since this is our second time through it. I'm not. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actions that you can take depending on where your wheel ends up. And then depending on the upgrade you get, if it has this little plus sign, you will be able to take both actions. Otherwise, you're only able to take one of these 2 actions. So it streamlines it. It makes it simple. But then there's chaining that can go on as you end up playing and kind of not necessarily an engine builder, but you get these upgrades that allow you to continue to do something or something. Placing a windmill, 3 different fields around the windmill. I get to do those 3 things too, along with the 1 action or 2 actions I'm trying to do on the wheel. So stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fairly simple in terms of actions. So action selection.
Pros and cons?
Yeah, goodness gracious, there's a handful of things that I truly think is a pro to this game. I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed the most with it in terms of the play is the upgrade ability, which is something Brad and I both absolutely love when it comes to playing games. We love upgrading whatever it is, our player board or, whatever it is. And there's many opportunities to be able to do that. And I think what shined for me is as you see these things come out, because there's so, I don't want to say limited actions, but as Brad said, there's 7 plus the water action. So kind of 8 things that you can start with on your board. As you start to upgrade things, you'll start to see the upgrades that can go into your windmill and the upgrades that come from your farmers be able to synergize. And it's fun to be able to put things in to, upgrade your games. But then when you start to see those synergies as well, it just makes it shine, and it makes it a lot of fun. I was able to kind of exploit that in my game and be able to really boost some of my actions. Not all of them, but like my planting action, for example. So that was a huge thing for me. I really enjoyed what these upgrades were able to do for me and how to be able to strategically play them and put them into my tableau.
Yep. A pro for me, which is just like a lot of us get inundated with learning the new icons for a Euro game, right? One of the best things about this is the icons on the board are big. They're easy to read. And then the colors, there's the numbers. If it's a white number, you get that tulip or that coin or that victory point. If it's a red number, you have to pay victory point, coin, whatever. So that was super simple. It was like the first thing I taught Toph. It was like, hey, this part's easy. You're going to like that. Makes it easy. Every time it's a white number, it's a gain. Every time it's a red number, it's a pay. Simplified this greatly.
Yeah. Thankfully, there was no hand means you get to collect this or, things like that. Just the iconography was put well. It is funny. That was the first thing he told me. And I was just like, oh, what that doesn't mean anything. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I like that. It just made. Yeah.
As you're playing the game, you really do appreciate that.
Yeah. I think the other thing that my next my next pro, for me goes into the gameplay itself. So we didn't do a teach of the game, but in essence, you're doing 2 things on your turn. you're managing the water. So one of the big things with this game is the gates that you have that you can raise or lower to be able to see the water flooding in or recessing out. You do that action, and it's like one thing. You choose to raise, lower, or keep the gate where they are, and then you take your action. And the gate number, if it's 1, 2, or 3, determines if you take 1 rotation of your wheel, 2, or 3 rotations of the wheel. It's super simple.
And by rotation, it's pi section.
Yes.
Not 1, 2, 3. It's just like 1, 2, 3, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Move 1 section 2. So you can kind of plan it out and say, okay, well, in 3 spaces, I have a really good action I want to take now. I want to make sure that I'm at the 3. And so you do that. It's one thing, and then you take your action, and that's it, which means it goes quickly. And so for somebody like me, who I will admit I have analysis paralysis, stupid ADHD, I don't feel like I take a long time on most turns, and Brad will yell at me because I do. This game, I felt like it flew quick. Like I felt like taking, even when I thought about it, it wasn't super long. And when Brad was playing, it was like, oh, turn's coming right back to me. In fact, there were a couple times that the action was so short that it was like, I'm not going to change that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this action. Okay, your turn. And that's how fast it was. Yeah. So I love that a lot. For me, I identified that I didn't feel like AP was a major issue for me in this game.
And at the same time, as the game progresses, you're able to chain or do more things because your upgrades now allow you to get a coin and do a thing. And then when you do the thing out here, you might be able to do something else, right? So there are definitely places and actions that allow you to do not just one, grab a card. You're able to get an upgrade, grab a card, plant something, right? So, but it's still not so long. He had one turn that I think he was able to do 5 or 6 things because of how he was triggering his farmers, because he had each one of his little helpers all had the same trigger, right? So when he planted, he was able to trigger 1, trigger 2, trigger 3, and then he had another one, when he covered something up from planting, that let him do something else. So there was one turn and there was like, he was really able to change a bunch of things out, but that's not the whole game. Like, it's going to get a little bit more as you move on toward the end of the game, but which is nice because you feel like you've got an engine or you got something going on.
Yeah.
So that's pro.
Definitely. What about you? Another pro?
I don't, I guess it's more of, I don't have a lot of cons, honestly.
I don't
I enjoyed the mechanisms, the watch out is that you have to, I really think there's these upgrades that cost 1 or 2 that have a plus symbol on them. That plus symbol then allows you, once it's on here, to do both sides of the wheel, which I think is critically important. Make sure you or any of your players know that we're going to be fighting for these. Just pick them up and get one and go as often as you can, because it's really going to vault you forward in your abilities and getting money and not getting stuck, not having something, being able to do both sides of the wheel. It's pretty important.
Yeah, 2 actions over 1 is big. So when it comes to the upgrades in terms of your wheel, you've got 3 different levels. You've got your commons, your uncommons, and your rares. I don't know if they're called rares, but common, uncommon, and rares. And as they get into the commons, you're going to pay $1, and get into the uncommons, you're going to pay $2 to get that upgrade. And that's where you find those plus signs. So it is valuable when you get to them. Not all of them have it, but it is good to add those in. I think that's definitely a plus. Another pro that I have has to go back to the wheel again as well. But as you start to rotate your wheel, if you're going 1, 2, or 3 spaces, there's an uneven number of spaces on the 2 wheels. So you're never going to have to always see, oh, well, this going to the market twice is always going to be the same as this, which I have an upgrade there, this dial here. Because as you rotate through this one, there's 6 on this and 5 on this. They're going to start kind of changing up. So you have a lot of variety as you go through it. So you can still plan. It's not making it hard to plan, but you're not getting stuck with doing the same action over and over and over and over again. It's going to rotate through in a different fashion. So I like that a lot.
You got any cons?
I think one of the I don't really have a lot of cons, honestly. I think the biggest thing for me that feels like it's currently a con, and this may just be my brain not understanding it yet, and I have to, play it a little bit more to be able to start to see the value of it compared to where I'm seeing it now, is the water. So I'm not saying it's a bad mechanic. We understood parts of it, like if it's on a level 1, 2, or 3 in terms of the gate, this is how many wheel spins you have, things like that. But I felt like everything else on the board really synergized well and played well, and that was the one thing that I was just like, I don't understand it. It feels out of place almost as we play it. And I'm sure that's not the plan. I'm sure that's just me. Sorry, Danny Garcia and Board and Dice. I just haven't figured that one out yet. And maybe I will as I play it more and more and more, but it felt almost disjointed from the rest.
And I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to give you a mechanic here that then tells you you're making a decision that affects the action you're going to take, right? But it is a little wonky.
Yeah.
I guess my con, and it's the fiddly, and I don't necessarily, people use fiddly in different ways. Easy to forget. Maybe a better way to say it. Like, as you have this rotation going around, when this red spoke hits this point your first time, you're basically moving to the next season, right? And not realizing you went past that, it's like, oh crap, I gotta go because I get a bonus when I do something up there, right? It's a pro. I like this season thing. It ends up being kind of like Everdale. You can be in different sections of the game and ahead of people in the game than other people, right? And you can end the game sooner if you're like racing, but it ends the game for everybody. It's a little different than Everdale. Yeah. But like, oh, I forgot I moved the floodgates up, and then I forgot to move the floodgate tracker down here because I wanted to get to my turn. You almost kind of be like, you worry about your turn, have somebody else worry about this over here as you're moving some things up and down. That way you don't have to like try to think of what you're doing on your turn plus this thing. That'll help out a bit.
Yeah, I think I noticed that a handful of times where, especially, you think so much about this because you're preparing for your turn. It's your turn. You're like, well, I'm not going to change that. I'm going to keep it at 2. And immediately you're turning it, and it's like, well, hold on, order. Let's deal with the water, and then let's come back to here.
Yeah, you pick if you're going to move this thing 1, 2, or 3, and you got to have the money to be able to move it 1, 2, or 3, and then you move the flood marker up or down, or typically up.
Yeah.
You move it up, and then your action may be to move it back down. But
yeah, definitely an order with it.
yeah. So
I'll be honest, I don't really have many other cons. I think one of the things we talked about this during the gameplay, after we've talked about the last time we tried to attempt to this video,
right?
Is and this goes with Brad saying you got to watch what you're doing all the time, but there are moments where you gain victory points during the game. I love this, but if you forget during the game, like when you slide in your second, third, or fourth farmer into the slots or the workers, I guess they're not all.
You
farmers,
get immediate victory points.
But you get immediate victory points, and you got to remember to do that. And there were a couple times that it was like, wait, did I do that? Did I not do that? And so little things like that. Now I will say they did a great job in putting these things near where those actions take place. So
it's very clear. It's just you
just got to watch. You just got to look and see what you're doing. And so that's definitely something. Another con?
I don't have a lot of cons. I mean, like I said, I think there's just, you might miss a few things and you play it. We didn't play this 10 times. Oh God. But it's things that you'll kind of work out, but there's a couple of things you're like, it's just easy to miss this going around.
Yeah. One of the things that Brad has mentioned, and I don't know if you did it in this filming or the last one, but the scale or the victory points, during the game, you're going to be able to get victory points for various actions, but during the game, you're also going to get to spend victory points in order to do actions. So I love the fact that victory points in this game are a commodity, because usually it's just you're gaining points or you're taking them away based on stuff. This time, like having to sit down and think, oh, I've got this bonus, but if I do this bonus, it's costing me a victory point. Do I want to wager that? And I typically always did. I was behind Brad for almost the whole game because I kept spending my victory points. Almost every single turn, I was spending victory points. Now, I was still gaining them, but I just...
You gain one, lose one. Gain one, lose one.
It was a lot of that.
Net zero.
Or maybe I got one when it was like, it looked like I should have gained 3, but I was spending them, so I ended up only getting one boost instead of 3. I love that. I really enjoyed that part of it, and I think I think you had a little bit different of an opinion on that, going back to the fiddly nature of the game.
Well, but you had the upgrades that allowed you to do that. I did not.
Well, I think where I was going with that is you were kind of thinking, let's do all of it at the end instead of kind of in between.
And it's more just like, because you're trying to figure out, oh, I got to do that. Like, it's the missing things, right? It's easier to miss things the more often you're touching all these little spots and moving them around. So I was like, go ahead and take the negative, but then don't make me add up all the positives until the very end. Like, all these, take them initially. Just add all this stuff up at the end.
Yeah.
You don't need to add it up. Like, and if you're going negative past 0, just continue to go backwards. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing I would say is like, yeah, you can continue to spin that stuff, but maybe you just add up all the victory points at the end.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there was anything that couldn't have been added up at the end.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of them. So there's a lot of places where you can gain victory points.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So maybe you can't do that. But like, I felt like everything on the board could definitely be that.
Yeah, on your tableau, definitely. Yeah. And then also up here at the top in the track of the seasons, I think there's these seasons, those victory points, we debated, do we do them now? Do we do them later when we get the points?
Yeah.
And so that could definitely all be done at the end, I think. But there are definitely places that you have to gain them immediately because it's an action you're taking.
And it's not make or break on this game. It's just a little nitpick.
Yeah. Anything else, pros, cons, that you want to discuss?
No, nothing I can think of. I'm going to go on. So I do a quick thing. Setup, this is not a bad setup. It's not this horrible, monstrous thing. So I wouldn't let that detract you from this game. So, and they actually made it. Putting these wheels together is actually pretty easy. The holes are actually punched large enough that we can put the plastic piece in there. A lot of times they aren't. So it was nice quality, nice setup. Really. There's a lot worse board and dice games to set up.
There are, yeah. That is true.
Weight rating?
Yeah, so currently BGG is rating this at 2.95, which my thought on this was somewhere, I was thinking about a 3 initially. The more we play it, I feel like it's lower than a 3. So in my mind, I kept thinking, and this was before I looked at BGG, this is a little less than a 3. So it's kind of a midweight game. It's not really a heavyweight game, but it's getting towards that idea of a heavier weight Euro game. A lot of times, these upper mid-weight games, we refer back to Castles of Burgundy a lot, which I was thinking Castles of Burgundy was like a 2.85. You're saying it's a 3. I don't remember.
Typically just a 3.
But in my mind, as we've been playing the game, I was like, initially I was thinking, oh, it's heavier than Castles. I don't think it is. I think it's less than Castles of Burgundy in terms of the weight. There's still a lot going on, but it's not a whole lot. The icons look good. You can read them fairly easily. So I wanted to put it less than Castles of Burgundy, which if Castles of Burgundy is the 3, and I was thinking this is a little less than a 3, then I guess that 2.95 is kind of spot on in terms of the weight rating. So I agree with that. Somewhere 2.9, 2.95, sure.
Mm-hmm. Value rating, this is where Board and Dice usually does a really nice job. Great components, double thickness boards, thick cardboard, wooden pieces for the windmills. $48 right now in miniature market. I think that's really good. If this were $10, I'd say it's a value of 5. If this were $100, I'd say it's a value of 1. I don't think it's a $100 game. At $50, I think I would put this at a 4 out of 5 for value and the experience that you're getting. You're going to play this multiple times. You're going to get down to that $10 per play easily. So I think this is a 4 out of 5 on the value. So BGG ratings?
Yeah. You want me to go first or you want to?
Well, BGG is saying after 1,000 people have rated this, they're looking at a 7.9. So let's just round it up to a whole 8. And for my rating, I'm gonna agree with them. I think this is sitting at a nice place. Didn't take super long to play. There is a game here. Getting to change some things and do some extra actions is always fun. Doesn't feel like you're getting blocked out or locked out of something. They may get there before you, but you can always move things around and find a new path. It wasn't super tight because somebody else got something you didn't, right? You could navigate your way around, and it felt open, but not so open that there's 0 game. So I'm thinking it's an 8. I like it. I would recommend it. I would play it again.
I like this game a lot, a whole lot. I really do. Like, we started playing it, and I'll be honest, sorry, Board and Dice, the theme does absolutely nothing for me, and I was judging this pretty harshly because of that, because I don't understand, like, the interest in gardening and that. It feels not like that at all. Like, as we started playing it, various games were in through my head. Oh my goodness, what? Not Altiplano, but the one kind of that came before it.
No idea. What
Yeah. Anyways, it's going to take a minute to come up with that game, but I can see playing it, and it kind of has this field beside it, and you're moving through. Anyways, there were other games that started coming into it, and I was like, oh, the theme, I can see where everything connects. The theme does absolutely nothing for me, but the gameplay itself is just, it works. Like, it flows, yeah, there's a little bit of fiddliness here or there, but it flows, it works. So I absolutely liked it. From the beginning, it just immediately started growing in interest for me. So for me, this is a game that I do want to recommend. This is a game that I can see wanting to pull off the shelf. It's a game I really want to try solo, and I think I will be soloing it just to figure it out, because it's hitting that sweet spot for me where I am right now as a doctoral student, as a full-time employee, as somebody that's trying to get to game night on a regular basis now, trying to prioritize that, because man, the semesters when I don't play games, I'm not a happy Toph. And so for me, I'm rating this at an 8.5.
Nice.
I don't know if it's quite a 9. I usually keep the 9s for things like the heavyweight Euros and stuff, because those are the sweet spot for me in terms of what I absolutely love. But for me right now, this is hitting exactly what I'm looking for. I like it a lot.
Nice.
So great job, Danny Garcia and Board and Dice.
So who's this for? This is for somebody that wants to have a game, but maybe wants to get some people up into more of a Euro game versus something that maybe in the 2.5 or 2 weight rating. This could be, this is probably not for the people who just want 4s and heavy and all that kind of stuff, or for people who want to try to find something like, can I play it in about an hour? Here you go. You got a Euro that can be played in about an hour. So there you go. That's who I think it's for. You agree?
I do completely. Yeah, I think there's some very good things with this game for those that are interesting. I think another thing that really comes into an interest in my mind, having to go with definitely both of us have a pro of how the gameplay, the time that it takes to play the game, but because this is 45 minutes to 90 minutes, depending on who you have, if everybody in your group knows how to play this already, this is a gaming group game when they want to get maybe 2 games to the table instead of only 1 on an evening. We play a lot of the heavyweight games in our gaming group. We all really enjoy those.
Right.
And so it tends to be, here's 1 game, and we're going to play 1 game, and that's going to be it. This is a night where I can see playing this game and then supplementing it with something else after. And that sometimes is very nice and refreshing when it's not so heavy, not so long, and you can kind of enjoy multiple things on a Wednesday night when everybody has to go to work the next morning. So, yeah, that's that. I think
cool.
Another category who it's for.
Alrighty. So just remember, no matter how you play, whether it's solo, with family, or friends,
enjoy whatever games you are bringing to the table.
Have a great night.
Bye.